Welcome to Richard and Greg, a channel dedicated to discussion, debate and argument on a whole array of topics. In today's video I ask Greg, what is the meaning of Black Friday and whether Black Friday sales are here to stay and what this means for internet shopping versus high street shops. I must warn you that Greg is a little controversial in the beginning and we ask that no one take offence. It is after all just one man's opinion and his rather warped sense of humour with it. So here goes. Welcome to Richard and Greg. It's Saturday, the 28th of November, 2020, and it's almost 1900 hours GMT. Now today we thought we'd talk about something a little topical in that yesterday was what is commonly known as Black Friday. And we'll ask Greg what Black Friday is all about. But a headline that struck me that I found dated last year, 30th of November 2019, was a headline: Black Friday online sales reach record $7.4 billion US. And watching the news today, I discovered that yesterday was also a Black Friday record, although I didn't catch the actual figures. And one wonders, what is so special about Black Friday? And who best to ask? A non-US citizen, but someone who knows something about everything. Greg. Greg, good evening.
Good evening. Black Friday is probably the perfect example of the sort of celebration that I have absolutely no time for and find completely anathematic. I hate shopping. I'm not remotely interested in bargains, and I really am not very keen on crowds. So all in all, it's sort of nightmare day. My theory is probably a total sacrilege in that I see Thanksgiving as a very valid American holiday based off of the first harvest after the wave of settlers had arrived with Mayfair and the Pilgrim Fathers et al. And it was the first harvest. What is conveniently forgotten is that the first harvest was pretty disastrous. They didn't actually grow enough food to keep them through the winter. They were living right at the bottom of the breadline. And one wonders if it was called Black Friday way back then, but actually called it by the indigenous population of America, who considered it a pretty black day that were obviously going to have to feed these people from their reserves during the course of the winter, or they would, many of them, not survive the winter. Black Friday, of course, was promoted from about 1950s onwards, although it wasn't originally called Black Friday. The name was brought in because there were so many people traveling on the Friday after Thanksgiving that the police nicknamed it Black Friday, because it was winter roads, some icy, bad weather, people in not the best of humours, many of them possibly even more than somewhat hungover from the day before, and a notorious day for accidents on the roads and accident and emergencies right across America. That was the actual origin of Black Friday. It was later in the 60s promoted by retailers as a means to stretch Thanksgiving Thursday into making a long weekend of shopping to start off Christmas shopping and get people into the mood with just under a month to go until Christmas. This is the time of year that retailers have to make money. It is the boom time. It's not just that Black Friday produces phenomenal sales and annually breaks records. It's that it gets Christmas going. It's notorious for the bargains that are available. I tend to look at them and think these items have sold had they not been heavily promoted as bargains? I'm also of the skeptical school that they've probably been overpriced for most of the year and they just haven't sold. So they mark the price down to clear out the old stock, because there's a great deal of new Christmas stock that is going to be coming in over the weekend. So yes, there are bargains to be had. But when you look at the crowds and queuing and the fact that stores open earlier and earlier, first they pushed it back into the small hours of Friday morning. Then it was pushed back to a minute past midnight on Thursday. And now many stores open late on Thursday afternoon. And in fact, some even open earlier than that, in conjunction with sales and Black Friday, trying to outdo their competitors. This year, it is probably very sensible to have avoided Black Friday, with the amount of people who are foolishly and selfishly not using masks and social distancing when it is so obvious to anybody with half a brain. And as Hopkins has said in its research, that wearing masks protects both the person at the other end who isn't necessarily in a mask, but also protects the person wearing the mask. But mainly it is for the benefit of other people, so that if you have the virus, and in the early days of having contracted it, you may be completely asymptomatic and not even realize you've got it yourself, but able to spread it. If your face is covered, the expectorant humidity and breath and splutterings that we all have from time to time during any day will go no further than the mask, hopefully. Even if it does dispel on the other side of the mask, it will not do so with the velocity or range that is likely to be anything like as dangerous to other people.
Okay, Greg. Okay, so what I'm more keen on for this debate is to talk about, is Black Friday really almost what Christmas has started to become, just another excuse for retail?
I don't think it's ever been anything but an excuse for retail. And as I said, it's a way of clearing out goods that haven't sold in the previous season. They've been selling at $10 or $1,000 all through the previous season. You have residual stock, so you knock it down to maybe $5 and $500 to get your cost back, to buy in again other items that you can more readily market. We have these seasons invented by retailers and marketing gurus. Think of Father's Day. Your parents and my parents had no concept of Father's Day when they were kids. It was just not really an event that was celebrated. In fact, I don't think Father's Day even existed at all when I was very young, and it came along and started to grow, partly to increase the frivolity of the card sellers. And we have card sellers at the yin yang on our high streets, all selling nothing anybody actually needs, but making many of them a pretty good living out of it, because we are overly wealthy in many ways and we have disposable income. Mother's Day, I believe, has existed really rather longer, but not for any particular purpose. It has been a marketing ploy, and along comes Black Friday, a marketing ploy. You will find nowadays that because retail has been taking a bit of a hammering, that many stores will maintain sales prices right the way through to Christmas and well into January. Whereas in the past, the prices remained the same, and the January sales started on the 1st of January, although that date has been pushed back. And in many areas now, we have sales starting on Boxing Day. So yes, it's a device to sell more and more goods. And this sounds as if it would be a great help to British or American industry, but looking at who's making these goods, the Chinese must rub their hands with glee at the thought of Christmas, albeit very few of them are Christian and actually celebrate Christmas. It is merely a marketing opportunity.
Well, that's quite interesting, because the one thing that the coronavirus has obviously done to a large degree is force people back into their homes because of lockdowns and so forth. People are now working more from home. Everyone is now using a computer. So it's driven people really to a large degree to their PCs or laptops or iPads or whatever you wish to call it. And of course, online sales have gone through the roof. Admittedly, at the cost of those, particularly those independent retailers, and of course is suffering as a consequence. I see Black Friday as another, not deliberately created that way, but it's another way of ensuring that Jeff Bezos actually, instead of being worth 200 billion, will probably be worth 300 billion by this time next year. And one has to ask the question, has the face of retail now totally changed? And are we all going to just get used to buying things online and not really bothering with going into the high street anymore?
No, I think that's absolutely inevitable. The world is always changing. The retailing of 10 or 15 years ago would have been unrecognizable to people from the 50s, and the retailing of the 50s unrecognizable to people of the 20s and 30s. The marketplace moves, and those who keep up with it can make fortunes. However, they're only making fortunes out of the demise of those who fail to keep up with it. Namely, the people with high street retail premises, for which they are paying very high prices, require a lot of staff who spend much of their time standing submoronically waiting for somebody to prod them into activity by buying something or showing an interest. It is quite amusing to walk around some of the larger shopping malls, and I'll swear that the staff just stand there, and when somebody speaks to them or shows an interest, they grow 6 inches. They actually stand upright all of a sudden instead of standing there slouched, looking bored witless. And retail has changed. Increasingly, it's being performed by robots for people who are responding like robots. And goods are being picked off shelves by an automatic process. They're traveling literally miles within these warehouses on rolling conveyor belts to the correct exit destination, to then be loaded into vans to transport them all over the country. Net result, van transport and van sales have gone through the roof. And we have Jeff Bezos making a great big thing about he has placed an order for, I believe it was 3,000 Mercedes electric vehicles for deliveries, in the pretense this will do anything but destroy the planet with the pollution produced, when you realize that to pay back the cost of making one of these electric vehicles, it doesn't actually pay back, even under the best circumstances, until it's done about 60,000 miles. And then at the end of its life, you have the batteries to dispose of, which are a hazardous waste. And when you start looking at modern vehicles, very little of what appears at first sight to be metal and recyclable and biodegrade is in fact various forms of clever plastic which are becoming a nightmare on this planet.
Greg, if I were therefore to ask you to sum up Black Friday in either a word, 2 words, or 1 sentence, just to end, what would it be?
Very sad. It makes people do things that otherwise they'd be more intelligent to do as a result of advertising and marketing. It sells lots of goods on impulse, which people may well never use. Ask yourself, how many homes do you think have 1 or more foot baths in their attic that have never been used? And the huge burgeoning of automatic bread makers. Yes, I use one every 2 days to make bread, but I'm very unusual because I don't know many people who make bread, but quintillions of these bread making machines have been given as gifts or been purchased to look trendy, and they're never being used. How many gadgets have people got in their kitchen that if you asked where they are, it would take them 10 minutes to find them, and they're supposed to be labor saving? How many pairs of shoes does even the average person have? They've got enough for a millipede. They don't wear more than 1 pair at a time. Many of the shoes in their wardrobes, they won't have worn for a year or 2. And this is not uncommon of many aspects pertaining to retail, because retail has to sell more and more and more to keep up with itself. And even so, you see big chains going bust. There have been announcements in the last week in this country of large chains shutting down. And Black Friday to them and the period through to Christmas, they are going to be desperately trying to convert some of that redundant stock back into cash to pay the wages. Some of them may already have robbed their pension funds to remain in the game. And it is not unusual to see retailers and the people in charge facing the courts for having taken money out of sacrosanct pension funds. Come to that, we saw Gordon Brown taking quite a lot out of pension funds to manage the mismanagement of finance, didn't we?
We did, Greg, and I think that's a good point in which to end. I would agree with 90% of what you've said, except for 2 areas. The one, shoes. As the proud owner of in excess of 50 pairs of shoes, I would argue they are absolutely essential, as they are all color coordinated with the clothes that I wear. And secondly, why I do like Black Friday, or the concept of these sales, it does enable me to purchase some of the things that I've been wanting to buy for a long time, but couldn't bring myself to do it at the normal retail price, because having been involved in retail myself, I know what things cost. And sometimes, providing the items they're selling are the ones I want, a bargain means that I can get it close to what I would normally have had to pay wholesale for. But without further ado, that's me, that's you. Greg, good evening and thank you.
My pleasure. See you next time.
See you next time. We hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if so, kindly subscribe to our channel and press the bell sign so that you are notified of our videos as and when they are published. And also in the description box below, we place links to certain books, articles and programs which you may find of benefit, and for which we will receive a small commission should you purchase through our link. And this will help support our channel and to enable us to develop it further.